Let's get into main topic number one. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Geeky Gator. Good to have Geeky Gator back, who writes in, "Hey, John and gang. Solo was the only Star Wars movie to lose money. Yes, it was. And despite some fans really adamant about getting a sequel, I don't think we will. But in a recent interview with Esquire, Alden Ehrenreich seemed to hint that there is some hope, saying that he heard some stuff regarding his future as Han, but that it isn't concrete. Do you think this means they are developing a Disney Plus show with some of the Solo characters?" All right, thanks for sending this in, man. And yes, that has been a question about what do you do with Solo, because the movie Solo is a really interesting situation. Number one, it's a movie that myself and a bunch of other people, from day one that they announced it, never thought this was a movie that even should have been made. Like, making a Han Solo movie without Harrison Ford, when we just had Harrison Ford on screen again 18 months earlier playing Han Solo, I thought was a fool's errand from the beginning. But they went ahead, they had all the behind-the-scenes drama with Lord Miller. Then you got the great Ron Howard stepped in and delivered what I thought was a pretty damn good space adventure movie. I thought the Solo movie was actually pretty good, even though I don't think they ever should have made it. But there's no getting away from the fact that the movie lost money and is the only Star Wars movie in history to lose money. So the question becomes, what do you do with this Solo character? It seemed bleak that they would ever do something again, but in a recent interview with Esquire, you're right, Alden Ehrenreich seems to give a little bit of hope, although small. Here's what he is written in the Esquire, our piece on him. Asked if he knows if they're going to do another Solo, he says, "No, I don't know anything about that. I mean, I think our movie was kind of the last conventional era Star Wars movie release time," he said, "but there is a sliver of hope. He has heard that rumors about happenings in the Star Wars world," and he says directly, "I've heard some stuff, but nothing concrete. I've heard some stuff, but nothing concrete." This is interesting because we've heard in recent days, Rob, from the original writer of Solo and stuff like that, saying, "Hey, you know what? There's no plans to do a Disney Plus show. There's certainly no plans there. There's no plans to do another movie and all that kind of stuff." But along comes Ehrenreich. He says, "Well, actually, I've heard some stuff. Nothing concrete, but I've heard some stuff." Rob, do you think at this point, especially when you consider all the drama that went on behind the scenes with Solo, the fact that it is the only Star Wars movie in history to lose money at the box office, probably a movie that never should have been made, but yet ultimately turned out to be a pretty damn good movie, do you think there's any chance, you're taking Alden Ehrenreich's comments into consideration, do you think there's any possibility here we could actually be seeing, and I feel like we've talked about this before, but now with Ehrenreich's comments, could we see more Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo in the future?
Okay, I have a theory about this, John.
All right.
And I call it the Rob Burnett hot toys theory of the universe.
Oh, here we go.
And so to me, when I look into, if you want to judge something's popularity, you have to look into whether or not, first of all, Hot Toys makes toys from whatever it is you're talking about. And two,
they're the litmus test.
Two, if those hot toys sell. Now, a lot of the Force Awakens and the sequel trilogy toys that Hot Toys makes are still easily available. Whether it's Kylo Ren or Rey or BB-8 or whoever, you can get those Hot Toys. You know what Hot Toys you can't get? The Solo Hot Toys. They all sell out. They just released the regular Alden Ehrenreich Solo Hot Toy figure, and they released him as a mud trooper when he was fighting for the Empire. Sold out. Collectors want them. I think that whether it's Disney Plus or whatever, the numbers for Solo in terms of rewatchability and popularity, because all the people that rejected Solo at the theaters went, "Man, I'm not going to go see that movie," or for whatever reason, the reason it lost money, I think that in ancillary markets, people have discovered this film. I think people watch it. I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers on Solo in terms of, say, Disney Plus surpass the numbers of various of the sequel trilogy films. I think people really like this movie. I think it happened to other movies in home video like Shawshank Redemption. You know, the film lost money when it was in its theatrical run, and now it's one of the most beloved movies of all time. I think that they look at this and go, you know what? We now have Mandalorian technology available to us. We don't have to spend $200 million to go make a Solo sequel based on, let's call, if every episode of The Mandalorian is between $15 and $20 million and they're half an hour long, let's say it's $20 million. That's $80 million for a 2-hour movie using their technology that they have. I think that it's become financially viable to make a Solo sequel and make it for less than $100 million. And I think when you look at those kinds of economics and you're looking at Disney streaming money, the same way that they're able to finance the Snyder Cut and justify it for HBO, I even think it's probably the Snyder Cut's going to cost up to $80 million. If they break it into 4 episodes, well, that's not a whole lot of money for a streaming show. I mean, it's still a lot of money, but it's on the upper end of just being a little out of reach. But I think that Solo is a lot more well-liked now than it was, say, when it first came out, because a lot more people have seen it, and those numbers don't lie. They'll have the viewing numbers. They'll be able to go, well, clearly there's something here. Maybe we should do another one using Mando tech.
I know you didn't just compare Shawshank Redemption to Solo, but I think, you know, the whole thing about the whole, what did they call that stagecraft technology? They gave a name to the room. I'm trying to remember what name they gave it. They called it the something, but yeah. Whatever it is, you know, that does raise some interesting possibilities what they could do there. I still wonder, because I think you raise a good point. It still leaves me wondering though, because I haven't seen Solo pop up on the top of any of the streaming charts. Like when I go to, you know, most viewed or popular now, I never really see it. I still can't help but wonder if the heads of Lucasfilm wouldn't think, yeah, we could do a Solo project that failed for us with the audience. People weren't interested in it, or we could do something new. And so that's going to be interesting. But I never took into consideration the fact that all the hot toys sold out, which could tell you something about that too.
Well, that's the only reason I in a way I say that tongue in cheek, but I also say that the people that buy Star Wars merch, us, like the adults who are spending $250 a pop on a figure, the fact that those Solo figures sold out, that people didn't leave them on the shelves, that says something. That means that people, even us, people with disposable income, like that movie enough to be spending $500 or $250 a pop on those figures. And I do think, you know, it's like the old home video days. A movie like Terminator, which did really, really well in the theater, but it did even better on home video. So when the first $100 million movie gets made 7 years after it's originally released, they spend $100 million on Terminator 2 because they're like, wow, you know. And I think that this film, and by the way, I wasn't comparing. The only comparison I was making between such, I don't want people to go, that Rob Burnett, he's completely been discredited. But I mean that sometimes movies find their audience in ancillary markets, and that happened a lot in home video. It doesn't happen that much anymore because the home video on physical media is just not as vibrant as it used to be. So that market, you know, but now you would see it with streaming. And I do think, especially on Disney Plus, when everything has sort of been, you can compare and contrast. Can you imagine, like, if they ever release those views, John, you've got all the Star Wars movies. It's like what I found interesting about Netflix and Star Trek is that the most streamed Star Trek people were watching was Voyager, because a lot of Star Trek fans didn't watch Voyager when it was on, and they're finding it again. They come back and they're like, wow, we like this. And even I have to say, I've revisited Voyager on streaming and I've enjoyed it. And I think maybe Solo has second life because of that.
Well, the question here for you guys is this. You know, we've gone over the whole Solo situation and, of course, the Twitter hashtag make Solo 2 happen and all that kind of stuff. But now we've got Alden Ehrenreich weighing in here. So my question for you guys is this, and I made that the topic of today's question of the day. I wanted to ask your guys' opinion. Just before the show started, I threw up this poll. Right now, about 2,400 of you guys have answered it. And the question was simply this. Alden Ehrenreich has hinted there could be more Han Solo in the future. If, and that's a big if so, do you think it would be for a Solo 2, or whether that's on the theatrical or whether it's on Disney Plus, or could he be involved in a separate ensemble kind of movie or show? We talk about this and more right now. At about the 2,400 of you guys have answered, Only 28% of you think that if there is more Han Solo with Alden Ehrenreich, that would actually be in a solo movie or show, whereas 72% of you think, yeah, he could come back, but it would probably be more in the idea of an ensemble show or movie, which is, I got to tell you, I'm surprised. I thought it'd be more even than that, but only 28% of you guys are saying a solo movie, whereas 72% of you are saying an ensemble of some sorts. I'm going to leave that up. By the way, if you guys are wondering where you can find the poll, it is, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's in the community tab of our YouTube channel. You can go and find it there and cast your vote. So what do you guys think? Jump on down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.